Hey YouTube, Hester781. So, today on the table, good friend of mine's father's, Ariens, Deluxe 30. You're not going to believe this one. So I haven't seen this machine in probably 2 seasons. I did a full service to it, and then we really didn't have snow last year. This year, he said it was working fine for him all season. Last storm, he broke the pull rope on it. And he's a handy person, so he put a new rope on it, but when he went to start it, it caught on fire. I don't know what happened. I don't know how that could have happened. I just know that it did happen. So that's why it's here today. He got it extinguished as quick as he could, but he wants to make sure there's A, no bad, damage under these covers, and B, what the hell happened? So let me get you set up. We'll pop some of these covers up, and hopefully it'll be self-evident. So he's also said, while it's here, to give it a full look over in service, which, I mean, the look over part's obvious. But service, I mean, yeah, it's been 2 years, and like I said, he's handy, so he knows, check the oil, and knows, obviously, I mean, enough to redo a pull cord by himself, but unfortunately, he has my luck where, he could walk outside with rubber shoes in a thunderstorm and not get hit by lightning, but the tree next to him gets hit and then the tree falls on him. Like that kind of didn't see it coming kind of luck. All right, I'm not seeing anything sort of jumping out at me right away. Let's get this cover off as well. And I did go through this, I'm pretty sure I went through this carburetor when it was here. I'm just kind of looking for signs of charring, and it looks like it was there. Yes, you can see that smoke. So I'm wondering if this, because that's right out of the, I'm wondering if maybe he primed it too many times. And then it just kind of, soaked this down with gas, because that's soot. And then maybe it just backfired and boom, that might have been just enough. Because, yeah, look at the, yeesh. Look at the underside of this cover. It's not showing up on camera, but that's all soot. I just gave the primer line a pull, and that's a little crusty. So that's sort of all I can go off of right now is hypotheticals. I could have definitely have started it up and tried to start a fire in here, but I'd rather not. My insurance company hates me as it is. Fuel line looks fine. No issues there. So yeah, I'm thinking. Yeah, just drop that anywhere. That's the only smoking gun I see, and there is, soot right there. So I'm thinking we had a backfire. Backfire and too much priming. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Out of curiosity, let's test that theory. So most people understand that you're only supposed to push the primer bulb, 2-3 times tops. It even tells you on the stickers sometimes. Okay, 2 times on this one. Let's see. 1, yep. There you go. 1 prime. And this thing is just shooting gas out. Jeez, that can't be good. Maybe we should check the level of the float. Make sure it's not, because if it was sitting too high, then the fuel level would be too high. But I mean, it is supposed to, dump fuel into the throat, but that just seems excessive, especially for one prime. We're here. We're in this far. Let's pull the carb and just make sure we've done all of our due diligence. Funny story about the priming. A friend of mine owns a plowing company, and he employs some of the, I'm just gonna say, inexperienced. I mean, they're shovelers. They're entry-level employees, we'll call them. And he naturally has his own fleet of snowblowers as well that he'll use for some properties. And he, has me go through them as he needs them and blah, blah, blah. And so a couple storms last year, he goes, hey, I'm having an issue. He goes, my guy just called me. He says, every single one of my snow blowers is leaking fuel. And he says, Chris, tell me what kind of sense that makes. He says, dude, I'm just telling you. He goes, want to see what you think. So I says, well, give me the guy's number because I don't like playing telephone. He said, she said, then call them. So let's finish this story over at the bench. So sure enough, I happen to be in the area, and I talked to the kid. I says, look, you're at his shop. He says, yeah, I'm here. So I says, look, I'm gonna come down, show me what you're talking about, and he has mainly all older Ariens snowblowers, much like the one we're working on. And I says, now show me what you're doing. And he's hitting that primer line, I'd say 10 to 15 times on each machine until it's pouring out. He says, see that? He goes, that ain't right. And I says, something ain't right here. I says, and it ain't the machine. So I don't mind when, someone's ignorant to the way things are supposed to be. What I mind is when they have an attitude with me about it. So I try explaining to the young buck exactly what I just told you guys about over priming and the dangers of, and he says, I've been doing it that way. That's the fuel pump, and that's how you pump the fuel up to the carb. And I says, I can explain it to you. I can't understand it for you. So he says, I don't answer to you. I answer to Chris. I called him, and he, oh, Jesus Christ. And so, needless to say, his snowblowers were fine. So this needle is spring-loaded. Float's got nothing in it. It's a Nicky carb, so strike one, right? I don't know. And like I said, he got through a whole season, and season and a half, because last year and this year. But yeah, that, I don't know. Is that, it's gotta be, sorry, I'm just kind of thinking this through while I'm talking to you guys. Because if that's sealed, there's no pressure whatsoever. So that must go all the way up. That just doesn't seem right to me. I don't know. Someone's probably screaming at the phone. Yeah, it's right, you ding dong. I don't know. This whole situation could be wrong, or could be right. You know what I mean? Could, but I don't think that one half prime of the primer bulb shooting out fuel through the throat. That's not good. So I'm suspicious of the needle. I'm wondering if that built-in spring doesn't have the snot that it used to. Like if this is collapsed somewhat. But I mean, how strong can it possibly need to be? That's, I don't know. Jet's clean. Everything's clean. Okay, I think due to the fire, and the fire is the only reason behind this and my curiosities, I'm going to get a new carb. And if we throw it on there and it still overflows the first pump, then we know that, we hopefully know that that's the way it's supposed to be, but I'm just not convinced. So let me get that ordered up. All right, well, I got that ordered. So in case I wasn't making it clear what my theory is that the fuel level in the bowl is higher than it should be. And what that would do in this instance is when you hit that primer, it's basically, so you're covering a little end right here. You have to make sure your finger's over this hole because that's the only way it's gonna suck air through. And you're pushing air into a sealed system. If you're float bowl is sealed and your carb nut is sealed, the only way out is up. You know, it's not going to blow back through the needle. So you're forcing air in, which forces the fuel up through the jet and the emulsion tube and whatever. So if that level is lower, you're going to get less fuel into the throat of the carb, and if it's higher, you're just going to overflow the carb. You know, in my theories here. You know, comment down below if you think I'm full of it or if I'm got it completely backwards. But that's the only thing I can see. I mean, button says hit it twice, and you hit it. You start to hit it once. You saw the thing's overflowing like crazy. So that can't be right. So that's the only thing I have to go off of right now. And while the oil's draining, we'll just check the belts. That was not the tightest. Last time I asked you guys to give me some funny stories of your own experiences, you did not disappoint, and I thought they were awesome. So now I'm going to ask, do you guys have any funny stories where you or your buddy or someone you know set something on fire in your shop or, you know, in your driveway or just something, you know, in general? You know what I'm asking. I want to hear the stories that you don't want to tell in front of your, in front of your parents or your wife. But yeah, I have a tale or two to tell. Let me tell you. Auger belts, nice and tight. A little bit of belt dust, but should be good. I want to say I changed these belts 2 years ago or so, but yeah, they're doing their job. Drive belt, still nice and tight, no cracks, no nothing. I don't really change many drive belts on these, if I'm being honest. They either work or they don't. They don't really wear out. They just sort of get cracked, and then I'll change it that way as a preventive measure. But I don't really see many just kind of, oh, it stopped driving and hey, the belt's gone. Unless, of course, it was cracked for a long time. But anyway, moving on. And some time has passed, and straight from the Scamazon rainforest is a high-quality Chinese aftermarket carburetor. Now, there was a couple different routes I could have gone. I could buy the factory carb for the low price of $150, or stay with me, I could spend $30 on a carb that I've used in the past, and I know, at least for the past few years, has given nobody any problems. And yeah, so B was the overwhelming choice. At the end of the day, it just becomes harder and harder to put that kind of money into these, you know, constantly aging units. I mean, this has got a fair amount of rust. It's done a fair amount of work for them. It's been a great machine for them, but it's just, you know, where do you draw the line? You know, do you put $150 into a carburetor and then, you know, next year it blows up, or it just turns into personal preference. There are people out there that would absolutely love to put a factory carb onto their unit because, you know, to them it's worth it, and they see the perceived value of just buy once, cry once, and stick with what you know is going to be good. But unfortunately, they make this one very tricky. The spring hook's on the inside hole, so I gotta sort of like get on this side. And guess who's standing right in the way? Using my bad hand. There we go. So yeah, I've had plenty of people say, you know what, I haven't put a lot of money into this unit, and I've owned it for, you know, 15 years or whatever. So they're like, it's been a great unit, I'm happy to spend the money and put a carb into it. And then I get the people on the other side of the aisle who say, you know, this thing's on its last legs, I'm hoping to get one more winter out of it, gotta put the kids through college, let's throw the $30 carb on and go to bed, huh? So it's not that I'm hating one way or another, it's just, you know, pick your preference, pick your poison, but most importantly, live with your choices. Let's turn the fuel on. Fuel valve is quite stiff. Give that a second to fill up. Now, before I put anything together, I'm going to pump the primer. And if it overflows the first or second prime, well, I'm just going to be scratching my damn head. But, all right, I think that should be enough. So, here's hoping. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. You know, it'd be really funny if we're out of fuel. Time out. All right, well, it was about a quarter of a tank, so I filled it to about half just to be safe. I pulled this line off, and we are indeed getting fuel flow. So let's see. I can smell fuel when I'm pushing the primer, so I think it's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. Because these should not just start overflowing. Yes, I'm actually seeing... Let me get you in closer so you can see what I'm seeing. Now, do you see... You guys can see that little bit of wetness there, right? Now, granted, I was just priming this thing till the cows come home. What did I hit it, like 15 times? But that's more like it. You know, before we hit it one time and it just shot fuel right out the intake here. So I'm happy with that. I think we proceed with putting it back together. Now I want to address sort of the elephant in the room with this repair that some of you guys are already thinking. Could the other carb have been fixed? And my answer is probably. Now, I feel like if I were to attempt to fix it, I would have personally gotten a new float, a new needle, and obviously a new gasket kit. And honestly, I feel like that might have fixed it. Now the issue is, this is not my machine. This is not my call. This is my buddy's dad. And I can advise, I can give my opinion, which I did, but at the end of the day, it's his decision. And I feel like the reason behind it was it caught fire and scared the living daylights out of him. I mean, it would put me in my pants, let me tell you. You know, you're in the middle of your driveway and boom, fire. Who's ready for that? Especially with a snowblower, of all the irony. So I think the trust in the old carb has been lost in this particular case. If it were my machine, I don't learn from my mistakes. So I would say, yeah, let's try to fix it. But the other side to that coin is also the parts to fix the exhaust are more expensive than a new carb. Which, rightly so. I mean, you're going to be getting, you know, a new factory parts to fix, you know, factory carb. So it's, you know, it's never a cut and dry issue. It's always personal preference, personal choice. You know, my blower, my choice, right? Isn't that what they're always preaching about in the streets? So let me slap this back together and turn you back on in a second. Well, now that we've got it all back together, got some fresh oil in her, let's see if all those nice things I said about this carburetor are true. Fire low. Oh, excellent. I did check the idle. It does idle beautifully, as most of these do. Like I said, this brand of carburetor, I sort of write down which ones I have good luck with. I believe this is HIPAA. Mentioned them on the channel before. Never had a problem with. I have a couple people out there using them that no complaints, no hiccups, zilch. So I'm happy with that. Let's continue on and put this baby to bed. And into the belly of the beast. What do we think? Mouse nest? It's been pretty clean so far. No, just some belt debris. And, sorry, hopefully you guys can see what I'm looking at. There's a couple cracks in the drive disc. Oh, one crack, sorry. But she's still pretty thick, and he wasn't giving me any sort of complaints. This is the same click style differential that I've talked about loving on this channel so much, and this was actually frozen solid a few years ago, and I took it all apart, cleaned it up. The biggest killer of these is lack of maintenance. I want to try to get you guys in and show you the mechanism in real time so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, so you're looking right in between these gears. You see that cog? Right here is the very tip of the other one. And that's the magic. The two will mesh. And you have two splines. You have this spline here that's, this spring is helping push this together. Now watch when I pull the handle. One click, it grabs the tooth and spins it in. Now, a little bit of a turn. Look at that. Locks right into place. This spring is pulling this way. When you're pulling the lever, it's pulling the opposite way. And now it's unlocked. The unlock is instantaneous. The lock, it does take like a little bit of a wiggle. See, like if both teeth were, I'll get it so you can see. There's one tooth, there's another. So I'm gonna lock it in. Now I'm gonna have to spin this a little bit, ready? Click. And there it's in. So, is it perfect? Absolutely not. But it's so much better than the auto turn, in my opinion. Single-wheel drive. Two-wheel drive. Single, two. Sorry. I'm going to do an in-depth video on this system. I have to actually rebuild mine. The bushings on the axles, there's bushings in here that are getting worn. And I like staying on top of preventive maintenance because I'm the one who has to fix it when it breaks. So, hope that makes it a little clearer to some of you guys how the system works. As far as maintenance for this kit, I use this Ultra Lube stuff. I mean, if all you have is WD-40, fine. But it's really very thin and not very sticky and won't last long in there. It's better than nothing. So don't just do nothing because that's all you have is WD-40. I mean, BB Blaster, anything is better than just ignoring it for years and then having it lock up. But this stuff is, you see how it's foaming up and sort of staying? I mean, it's running down now because I'm saturating the area, but it's been 2 years, maybe 3, since I've serviced this differential or anything in here. And you can see it's still nice and free. Granted, he keeps this in a shed, so it's, keeping it out of the elements is half the battle, as you guys know. And like I do with all the other ones, just going to spread a little bit of marine grease on the shaft. It's actually still plenty lubed up since the last time I did it. Like I said, we really haven't seen much, real New England snow in the last couple seasons. We're used to getting absolutely hammered up here, and we've been spoiled for the past 4 or 5 years. So this hasn't seen much in the way of real work, but this is all about making sure. See, you can still see some green grease from when I put it a few years ago. This is all just so it does work when we do get hammered. Because fate favors the prepared. Unless it's me, then fate's like, I don't like you very much. And don't forget, while you're doing your maintenance, this one grease fitting, just pump 1 or 2 pumps in there, and that greases the gear, the shaft inside. Just keeps everything nice and smooth. And getting down to the nitty gritty here. As I've told you all, I like to pull the shear pins, give them a quick look. This is actually Probably not going to get used again this year because it's 50 degrees out and it's the beginning of April, right? April? Yes, April. Okay, maybe March. It's March. I don't know. It's Wednesday. And then yeah, just grease them up. Like I say, I always grease them with the shear pins out. That way, you can give it a good spin and really work in all that grease. Do you guys hear that contact? That is because these shoes are way the hell out of adjustment, so much so that they're actually hitting my lift in places. So that is next on the list. I just wanted to show you guys this first, and that's how I like to do it. I'm not going to show you the other side because it's just like this side. All right, I lied. I am going to show you something. So I'm always telling you guys not to over tighten your shear pins. And I feel like this is a great opportunity to show you what I'm actually talking about. So I have tightened this one to holy hell. This one is just sitting here as loose as it should be. So even if this nut was tight, you should still be able to turn this with a wrench or by finger. And let me show you why. So here you can see how this auger is moving on the shaft. Now watch this one. This actually still has a little bit of movement. But on a lot of them, if you sock this down all the way, it's actually going to squeeze the auger down onto the shaft. And it's not going to want to shear as easily as this. It's going to be fighting that twisting force because this is also clamping it down. So it's going to be clamping and trying to shear. It's just not good for these aluminum gearboxes, you know? So that's all I'm trying to let you know is you want to tighten them to where you can just spin them with a wrench. Because these nuts are lock nuts. So even though, you know, you might think, oh, the nut's going to fall off. No, they're special nuts, and there should be special nuts so that you can leave them a little bit loose. Anyway, end rant. And now the final act is to set the shoe height. Now, I've got my washers that I've told you about under there. Just an 1/8 inch gap. If you guys got a paint stick, that works too. You can see these shoes have had it, so I am going to flip the shoes at the same time. This is exactly why, you know, some people, they don't adjust their shoes on purpose. They're like, oh, I love it, a nice clean, you know, clean sweep. It's, if you have the scraper bar adjusted properly and your shoes adjusted properly, sure. But if you just leave it, you wind up like this, where you start grinding the teeth down on the asphalt. This one hasn't made contact yet, but this one, it's hitting at a bunch of spots, and that's probably because tire pressure. I mean, you can see the little notch on the inside here. That's worn down more than that side, so I bet you for a long time that tire was flat and he didn't notice. But, or the driveway's crooked. You know, it's going to wear in to whatever you're plowing, so if what I'm saying makes sense. But always a good thing to check. You know, scraper bars are cheap. Shoes are cheap. Augers, not so cheap. Bucket, not cheap. You know, they're wear items for a reason. You want to wear those items so that these items don't wear. So before you start, just make sure your tires are even on both sides. I don't care what you set them to. You know, some people have their preferences. Look at the side of your tire. It'll tell you the max PSI. I stick around, you know, 8 to 10. I'm going to set this one to 10 just because I feel like it today. And going to do the same to the other side. Now, if you were not flipping these, all you would have to do is loosen them a bit, and the shoe would drop down. I'll show you. See, and now you can drop your shoes down. But I need to take these all the way off so I can pull this off, flip her around. Yeah, I'd say he got plenty of life out of that one. And assembly is reverse or removal. I'll turn you back on for the other side. And of course, this one's absolutely worse. It's almost breaking off in my fingers. Something you guys might not have known about this hardware, which I will not be doing to this machine, but these are supposed to be zinc plated. Why? So they are supposed to be like a sacrificial anode, and it's supposed to help corrosion. In other words, the corrosive metal, whether it's water, rust, whatever, it's going to attack the zinc before it starts attacking the the bucket and the paint. Which is why, if you notice, every single one on the scraper bar and on these shoes is completely rusted. So they did their job. However, they're supposed to be replaced when they start to rust, or else they're going to stop doing their jobs. Yeah, you'll see every single one is just completely rusted and missing its zinc coating. So, I mean, unfortunately, look at the bucket. It's shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic at this point. But if you're doing this and your bucket isn't rusted and you feel like doing a little preventive maintenance, I would absolutely recommend replacing the zinc screws. And then, of course, go around with your lubricant of choice and just hit all the pivot points and springs, anywhere that makes metal-to-metal contact. If it looks rusty, it means it's been rubbing. So, nothing to it. Last one. Come on. Yeah, there we go. Excellent. The only bit of maintenance I did not do on this machine this year is pull the wheels off and grease them. As you can see, it's still packed with grease. I had this whole rear end apart when I did that differential repair, and I'm just kind of out of time. So I know that for a fact that they do move on the axles, so it is not a problem. But all you gotta do, look at my other videos, and I've gone into in-depth on how to pull these wheels apart and what to do if an axle's stuck, etc., etc. All right, well, let's give her a true cold start, and we'll use the pull cord this time, just to make absolutely sure that she will fire up for him when he needs it. And there you have it, guys. It's probably going to be the last snowblower video of the season. It is 55 degrees right now. I am in a t-shirt and I am loving life. This winter wasn't the snowiest, but damn, was it cold. There were just weeks I could not do it. It was, negative 10 degrees, negative 5. It's just, I'm getting to be pretty weak in my old age. When I was a kid, I'd be in a t-shirt in that weather. Now I'm just, I don't know, crotchety old man. Yeah, my Christmas lights are still up. Bite me. All right, guys. Sorry the videos haven't been coming, but like I said, I appreciate you guys' patience, and things will get better. Till next time, bye.